Smoak and Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, with us on 365 Sports. Mack, thank you very much for your time. Does what you see in the college football landscape, which was kind of a very busy weekend when it comes to coaches, does that ever, when you're looking at anything yourself, ever affect your emotions or the decision-making of what you have to do?
No, I appreciate that question. I think it's certainly a good question. Every one of those, particular institutions, those circumstances are always different for each one. I would tell you, that it not really doesn't impact, my thought process, my decision process. I've always worked hard to make decisions based on, sound criteria, make decisions where, where I'm blocking out the noise and the outside influences. And so again, based on sound criteria, gut, not emotions, to truly try to get to, what I think is best for the program. So, am I aware of the changes? Yeah, absolutely. But do they influence my decision making process? No.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a chance, not this week but last, to sit down with Dave, as I do, and enjoy that time with him. But he even brought up that he understands the storm, so to speak, around his name right now because of the results of this season. Do you get the impression, or is he right now coaching for his job these last couple of weeks?
I would say that, I don't think that Dave looks at it, that way at all. I think Dave is focused and I completely, support it. He's focused on, what he has to do, right, to win, our next opponent, versus TCU, right? We have a saying that, 1-0, and for him to be focused and on that next opponent and give ourselves, give our young men the very best chance that we can have in going up to Fort Worth and playing well and having an opportunity to beat TCU. I think our coaches, that's where their mindset is, but and so that's his approach, and that's my expectation. That's what we're focused on. We're focused on TCU.
Mack, how much more complicated in the last few years has the math become when making decisions about improvements for a team for a season next, whether that's, do you spend more on your coaching staff? Do you spend more on one thing? Do you have to point money in different directions outside of the traditional avenues? Is it much more difficult to make those decisions because of now you've added even more money and more finances into this with NIL and all those other things?
Yeah, I think, Paul, I think the thing that's changed, change it for everybody is, can you really be a developmental program, given the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness. And so I think the fluidity of roster, every year and how that looks and, name, image, and likeness and, particularly collective name, image, and likeness, and how that's going to impact roster. Obviously, when you think about, basketball and the sizes of those rosters, 13, in terms of men's basketball, 15 in terms of women's basketball. When we think about allowable scholarship student athletes, that's much different than 85 with football. And by the time you include walk-ons, just call it 110. And so, that's what's changed dramatically, and has really flipped our industry, upside down. are you having conversations certainly about, additional position here or there, any type of, I guess, personnel, additions, subtractions, those are all part of the conversation.
Mac, how often do you think that because of when coaches become hot commodities, you've had some yourself where you've been, and everybody seems to have one. How much do you feel like, and this is a general question, do colleges, universities, or athletic administrators bid against themselves when it comes to extensions?
Yeah, that's a great question, and, I think reality is, there's some positions that are open right now that, there'll be some candidates that are either targets and or they're interviewed for, right, and they'll end up getting a raise or getting an extension. And I think those institutions that have those particular coaches that have had that success, absolutely they've got to weigh it and and measure it and balance it, and I would say protect their investment, and so it's a balance, and I think you certainly are going to do what you can to protect your investment, but do it or try to do it in a responsible manner.
Mac, when it comes to the shifting landscape, do you feel like Baylor still is able to kind of know who it is and who it will be moving forward, or is that something that you guys are still trying to figure out how what Baylor wants to be fits into what it is going to be in the future?
Yeah, I think, Craig, I think that's a year by year, maybe it's even a day by day conversation now, but I do think it's a year by year. I think this thing is evolving so quickly. And, earlier I talked about, being a developmental program. Well, maybe a portion, a smaller portion of your roster can be, as we all know, right, there's very little patience, for having a down year, and off year. And so you've got to be thinking, about present talent, quality of roster in the moment. And so, how you navigate that is certainly different. We've talked about, our name, image, and likeness. And, again, I don't think we're in the lower half. I don't think we're in the probably, upper 2 or 3, but that's an area that we're going to have to grow. And it's an area we've grown in, and it's an area that we're going to have to continue to grow. That has consequences, for an institution like Baylor, where, we're an institution that's the size of, 14,500, students when you think about undergraduate population. So we don't have the masses and masses of alums. And so how can we garner more name, image, and likeness opportunities, or not Baylor, but how can GXG do that, right? And go out to our donors, and how do we do that without impacting what we're asking them to do for us, whether it's Bear Foundation scholarships, facilities, all of that. And there's some give and take and consequences to it. So it's a challenge. But it's one that, I think that, we're in the midst of. And, I've said it before that, really feel like, the industry and where it's headed, that, we're going to take some body blows. This is a 10-round heavyweight fight, and early on we're going to take some body blows, and I think we're right in the middle of that. But I also think we'll keep standing, and we'll end up winning this thing in the later rounds. And I'm really proud of our coaches. I'm really proud of our staff for being resilient, for being resourceful, and strategic. And we'll navigate this thing, and we'll continue to be nationally relevant. And I don't want to say that flippant, because that's not just going to happen. That is a lot of hard work in terms of what we are facing today in this industry.
The networks, the TV networks that make the decisions on the games that they want, and if you're nationally ranked or you're a team that's in the mix for a conference or even the college football playoff, they're going to want teams in the prime time or even their big game at 11 on Fox or whatever it is on the other stations as well. But this is now going to be, I believe, 5 consecutive weeks of ESPN Plus, and that's just the way things are. How frustrating is it when you're trying to build up and also maintain your image or your branding at Baylor?
Yeah, I think it. I think it is. It is certainly frustrating, but I also think that, hey, it's what goes along with when you're having a season that you're struggling, and as you mentioned, it's about matchups. And so, for us to be, the one of the preferred games being on a linear broadcast, we've got to, win more games. And, over the course of particularly, the last, 2 to 3 years, we've been a prominent brand on the linear broadcast. And because we struggle this year, we haven't. So we gotta get better. We gotta win more games.
Mack, on the subject of ESPN Plus, I was looking through emails sent about the recent Board of Regents meeting and some of the actions taken, and it mentioned that as required by the Big 12, Regents approved funding to improve broadcast capabilities, allocating $24.25 million for construction of a broadcast production center in McLean, and also upgrade some of the video technology, and that some of that will be supported by a capital investment from PlayFi, which is your multimedia rights holder. Can you just discuss that, what that means, the requirement by the Big 12 as far as the TV production side of things go?
No, I'll try to do it, because it's complicated, but with the new TV contract, right, that starts July 1, 2025, we need to have the ability to produce, linear and digital broadcast simultaneously. We don't have that capability right now.
Okay.
We also have, an antiquated control room and production rooms to run the video boards. And so, what we're constructing, what we're building would be 2 control rooms, and so we'd have the ability to broadcast simultaneously, again, both linear and digital. We'll have one central location now to run the video boards, at the pavilion, at the Fox Pavilion, at the Farrell Center, at McLean Stadium, at certainly baseball and softball. And so that will be a huge win. Obviously, brand new state-of-the-art equipment. The current equipment is antiquated. And it also provides us an ability to generate some revenues. ESPN will pay us a flat fee for production of Olympic sport games, whether, again, that could be on a linear platform or a digital platform, and also the same for football, men's and women's basketball. So it is a project that we certainly need, and grateful to the Board of Regents for their support. And then McLean Stadium opened up in 2014, and in the lifespan of that video technology, the main video board, the ribbon boards, all of that has exceeded its lifespan. Usually 7 to 8 years, and so you're starting to see it compromise right now, and so just replacing out all of that, and then working with, as you mentioned, Craig, our multimedia rights partner Playfly, to add some additional technology. We'll add a North video board in McLean. We'll put a video board on the back end of the main video board, the backside, and then do some video technology over the home team entrance tunnel into the stadium, and all of those three pieces of new technology will help us generate additional revenue as well.
Man, things move fast, like 9 years, and you're like,
that's
it's
old.
It's dusty. Like,
Not even a decade old.
not like your stadium was built in 1950, and you're getting around to it just in 2014. Okay, Matt, can you help us sift through the Big 12 tiebreaker situation?
I bet you haven't even really had anybody maybe sit down and say that's on the agenda tomorrow for the Big 12 ADs, have you?
So, we had the Big 12 AD call today, and we did not discuss it. And tomorrow we won't. But it is absolutely complicated, and it's something that we the ADs will come together and approve just with a couple small tweaks.
Last thing, if you don't mind, there was an announcement tomorrow or yesterday about TCU Baylor, and a lot of people have called it the Rivalry. It's now the Bluebonnet Trophy or Bowl. I mean, this is a very intense rivalry, as you know, and I've seen kind of a lot of harsh reactions to what it's being called, and some like it. Of course, at this time, people are going to like it or not. What was the overall background on doing that?
Yeah, so I'm grateful to both student government associations, both TCU and Baylor, and they really came together and ran with it. And for us here at Baylor, Nick and Lily were terrific, and we didn't have a place in terms of the naming of it. And again, they really wanted to kind of rebrand, refresh this new moniker, if you will, so to speak. And it's, as you mentioned, it's a really, really important game. Jeremiah Donati and I were part of that small working group, 4 or 5 of us that worked on the schedule. And as you know, is only one of 4 protected games that will be played every year. And so the value of the rivalry, I think, is really important. It's really important to the Big 12. There's always some special nuances to it, when you think about who we are. Both private schools, smaller schools, both have had great success. When I talked about family, we have and 2 family members facing off versus one another. We've got our nose tackle Cooper Lands, who's facing off against his brother, who's TCU senior center John, and so you have that component to it, and so it's a great rivalry, and 119 times, and the most played in the state of Texas, and just appreciate the student governments from each institution taking it and running with it.
Thank you, Mack. Appreciate your time. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us most Tuesdays at around 4:15.